والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وبعد. Last time we finished with this screen, sources of trouble in the family, and we went as far as Sister Iman says, incompatibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Did we finish with compatibilities or did we
Yeah, I think so.
finish? Okay. So the next point is differing views.
Oh, this one we finished too.
We did?
Yes.
Okay, so let us move on. What is coming is a very important screen. Okay. Poor skills and bad habits.
Oh, I don't.
You know, when you go into doing any kind of work for which you've not studied, you've not trained, what do you normally do?
Training.
You learn on your job,
Yeah.
Training on the job training.
right?
Yeah.
So your performance will always be between trial and error.
Right.
You try something to see if it works, and then if it doesn't, you try something different. Then it doesn't work, then you consult with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they give you an advice. Their advice may be counterproductive for you. It can cause some damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is the point here on this screen in particular is for everyone to try to get their training or education about marriage life before marriage. So I always joke with couples that come for me to marry them. I always say, now that you both succeeded to convince each other of something, that's why we are here, which is we're doing the marriage contract because you convince each other. He convinced you that he's a man for the job and you decided to hire him, right? And he convinced you that he's a man, she convinced him that she's a woman for the job and he is hiring her. That is exactly a business contract.
Right.
So that side of the agreement is never present in anybody's mind. Because people are overwhelmed with emotions and hopes and maybe concerns and worries and other things to focus on marriage as a business. That there will be definite expectations that should and would make it work, and certain things that would make not this marriage work. So we need to talk over about those things. And the two lines I'm having here are not strictly separable, but they give you an outline of the general feeling for what skills you need to have and what habits and attitude you need to tackle, develop, or change. Managing the change is the first skill everyone needs to come ready with. What is the change? The change is you're moving from a totally free, absolutely free life, right, except for family demands and expectations, to a family, to a forming your own family with expectations that you don't have control over. The expectations of the other side, whether it is your husband or your wife, everybody comes with their own expectations. Also, you are not going to be as free as you used to be. You're going to have to come home at a certain time based on expectations. You're going to have to do certain things that maybe you're not used to do it in your own, roommate life or family life or school life. So you will have to adjust. This adjustment requires managing a lot of things. Managing your flexibilities. How flexible have you been in your life will come to be demanded at this point. If you're not flexible, which means you don't want to change, you don't want to give up any privilege that you've gotten in the family, that means you are not going to be adjustable. You will have difficulty adjusting your life. Also, if you come with a lot of worries, a lot of fears, because you've heard horror stories about men doing this, men doing that, families failing, you come with all of this, that also can result in blinding you from seeing your role and what to expect in your own family. Sometimes if you come with a lot of prepared love and all of this stuff, and you're not paying attention to what sort of business you're going to take care of, then you come with hopes and wants, but you see nothing that is expected of you. I'm just a wife, I'm just a husband. You have no responsibility. And to manage the change from total freedom into a shared life is difficult for some people who are not used to listen to opinions of others or work with others. So if you are not trained to be a team player, if you are not used to be part of a group, marriage life is going to be difficult, and you have to know this. And managing that change is going to be difficult, because as you are adjusting, you want to adjust yourself to a new life, to a new partner. Most probably a person that you don't know except very little about. So the information you know about yourself has to be enough to enable you, because the information you have about him is not going to ever be enough that you manage how he wants things to be done. So managing the change is the basic, most fundamental skill as you transit from a single life into a marriage life. That becomes even more complicated, unfortunately, unlike what people expect, if the person getting married has been married before. Why? Because they now have some experience, and it is not the roommate, it is not the campus life, and it is not the family. It is an experience with marriage. So he or she will have developed certain fears and hopes. Mostly fears. So mostly he or she will be focused on what he doesn't like in you more than what he likes. And that kind of focus can bring problems that would not have been problems had this person not been married before and divorced and so on and so forth. Yes.
We can ask questions, right?
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
So let's say someone's single, and they're getting a proposal from someone who's divorced.
Mm.
Do you in a general way, would you recommend them considering that person for marriage?
This is better than both of them being divorcee.
Really?
Despite the fact that being in the same situation brings experience, but those experience could be the problem. But a person who marries from single life to marriage, if they marry somebody who was married before, they expect that this husband or this wife had a negative experience in their life. So they are expecting this. But when the two of them are coming, they are not looking for what the other person is looking. They are afraid of what the other person may expect. They are afraid of what the other person may demand. They are afraid that the other person will punish them for what happened with them before. So if the two are previously married, it's a fair situation, yes, but it can bring more problems, yes.
I have a question about managing change. So I've heard different views that it takes 21 days or 40 days to change a habit. How patient should we be when we seek to experience change or transformation from ourselves or our partner?
Well, provided that you know your shortcomings and the other side knows their shortcomings clearly, and provided that both of you are flexible people, meaning you're willing to change your position or your views to adjust, right? If both of you are like this, it may take you about 6 months to adjust. If not, then it takes longer. Okay. Yeah. These are not kind of like etched in stone numbers, but that's my experience. Yeah. And those 6 months, unlike what people say, oh, leave them alone, let them enjoy their life, I believe now we should support them. It's like building something or making a new statute or something that you want to augment and support. A young family needs a lot of support, but unfortunately, that support doesn't come handy. Most people are afraid to say or do anything to ruin a good day for the couple, but I believe they need the support, they need the counseling, especially to adjust for the change. Because if they adjust well, if they are able to establish security in the marriage, if they are able to talk without penalty, if they are able to express their views without repercussions, then they are ready to adjust from day one. So people who spend a long time in the engagement period and overcome those initial hurdles, they are more able to adjust than people who marry quickly. Before, what is quickly? Quickly means before you get to know each other deep enough, broad enough, and complete enough. Sure. Okay, very good questions. So managing the change is the first issue and the first skill that we all need to have in any new situation, whether it is work, whether it is school, whether it is marriage, but marriage, because it's very involving, we need to do that very quickly. Time mismanagement. If I am not used to live with the system, and here I am marrying a sister whose life is highly organized, highly technically organized, right? I'm gonna be in trouble. So the best thing is to quickly take a course in time management. It's easy. You could do it online and you could grab most of the skills you need quickly. Now, how fast are you able to practice those skills is going to be different from one person to another. But we all must know how to organize our life. After all, everything around us in life is organized by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, the sun, the moon, the light, the night, everything is organized. So we need to organize to fit in the mold of the universe in which we live. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it very easy for us, Muslims in particular, to have anchors in our life in the form of the 5-time daily prayers. So if you say, my life will revolve around my 5-time daily prayers. So I'll do this before Fajr. I'll do this after Fajr. I'll do this after Duha prayer. I'll do this at Zuhr time or before Zuhr time, after Zuhr. If you keep letting the prayer stand as your turnaround issue, your life will be automatically organized. But you need to assign slots for activities in the time that you have. So if you are used to organizing your life as a young child, as an adult, it will be much easier to manage your marriage life. One of the most problematic issues that sisters face with brothers who come from single life into the marriage life without having any experience preparing anything that we're talking about. In most cases, the brother treats his wife as a roommate to start with. And I don't mean this in the literal sense, but she is somewhat a person that you have to live with. It's not a person that you want to live with. So the image of the sister immediately becomes like she is a liability. And people who married, especially sisters who married brothers who were living singles before marriage, they realize this very quickly. The brother doesn't spend time at home because he's done with his work, he went home, he took his dinner, and the rest is not marriage life. So they come home at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever, because they are still continuing with their friends. This is a habit that they are not willing yet to give it up or to substitute it with good time with my new family. So time management or time mismanagement can become a problem from the outset. And this is something that we need to be cognizant of, aware of, and try to manage around it. What should a spouse do if their spouse is not ready yet to settle into marriage and take responsibility, both spending resources, energy, and time? These are the three things every side wants. So we need to be aware that we need from each other, we need time, we need energy, and we need resources, so that mutual satisfaction can sit in and mutual expectations can be exchanged. And joint achievements, joint friends, joint games, joint hobbies, joint everything can start to become the bonding cohesion between the two sides. So if we do not share how do we spend our time before marriage, then we come into the marriage and we dispute over how time should be divided. So another one is a person who is the single boy in the family, and his family lives very close where you live, right? He wants to go one night to go with his family and one night to go with you, as if he's married to two people, right? This is a die-hard habit, okay? And it can be damaging. If the wife is unsettled with this arrangement, it can be damaging. So we need to be aware also of what people's needs are. So does he spend the time with family just enjoying himself? Or does he serve his sick mom, for example, who is staying by herself? That's different. It's different. Does he need to work in the weekend? Some people work hard jobs and they need to work 7 days a week or 6 days a week. That also will take time. So you need to be aware before you engage somebody what their time is going to be like at home. Next to this, what are you and him going to do together at home? How are you going? Is it going to be the TV? Is it going to be everybody on their phone? What is the time going to be spent for? So time mismanagement could become a problem. So time management skill and organizing time around joint expectations becomes very important. Misguided energy. One of the most obvious misguided energy is anger. I go home, I had a fight with my boss, and I cannot tell him no, but he just got on my nerve, and I cannot talk back to him. I will take this anger and vent it in my wife. That's misguided energy. And most brothers think that this is their right. So somebody has to talk to them to tell them, no, it is not. It is not the right of the husband or the right of the wife to shift their anger against each other because somebody else got on each other's nerve. They need to keep this energy for when it's actually essential to deal with. There will be time for anger to come. So don't use anger that comes from outside sources to come and destroy the relationship because you felt bad or somebody got on your nerve. So that is an obvious kind of misguided energy. Some of the misguided energy also is getting angry at small trivial stuff, which points to the fact that the person doing this is more likely to carry more child habits than adult habits. So you need to monitor what is going on to see which box does he fit in. Is he an adult who doesn't know how to deal with his anger, or is he childish and anger is his way of expression? Because those are not one and the same thing. Okay. So this also is an obvious misguided energy. One of the normal negative energy, I would say, is when you are social and he is not, or he is social and you're not. So whatever he wants, you're working against him. So let us go visit your friend. You say, oh, my friend X, no, I don't want to visit her. But I want to see her husband, I didn't see him. Or you can see him on your own. Instead of resolving the issue, we tend to succumb to our feeling, negative feeling that is, to execute everything according to what we want at the moment. And we need to acknowledge what we have of negative energy before we transfer it into the relationship. Okay? One of the negative energy is laziness. That a wife used to sleep until 11 o'clock in the morning in her own home because she has no responsibility. And her husband expects that she would prepare the breakfast before he goes home, before he goes out, right? And the lunch, right? Lunchbox, don't forget the lunchbox. So if she continues with her lazy habit of oversleeping beyond the sunrise, she will give him a negative impression about how effective and efficient and helpful she is as a wife. She is better off without it, he's better off without it. Okay? One of the problems also with negative energy is when the husband himself is lazy, he doesn't want to go to work, then the wife ends up being the active, the professional, the career person in the house. She goes to work on time, she makes promotions, she makes advance in her work, and he is happy that she is spending. That is the opposite of how things actually should be. So that also is a negative energy that is brought into the relationship. And it is not necessary. People can live without that. So you need to learn life habits and lifestyles of the person you want to get married to. Because those may not change very quickly, or may not change at all. Mishandling anger. One of the worst things that we do when we get angry is we become like children. When a child gets angry, he wants what he wants, period, no matter what. And that's one of the ways that makes anger a problem in any relationship. But in the family, it's more so than anything else. So one of the bad things also about mishandling anger is presuming that if I am angry, it means everybody has to run to me like a child. Everybody has to cuddle me. Everybody has to take my abuse. Some people think that I was loose tongue because you made me angry. You shouldn't. You should be an adult. One of the mishandling of anger is not to acknowledge anger as a bad habit and to blame others for it. She made me angry, as this is the first time in my life to be angry. But the reality is, we all get angry. We all become angry. But how do we handle ourselves? Let us go back to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. When Sa'd ibn Mu'adh asked him, advise me of something that can make me live happy life. And he says, don't get angry. We know that the Prophet ﷺ at times could become angry. And the companions would say, it would show in his face. So why does he tell Sa'd, don't become angry? What does he mean? We all could become angry. But what he meant is, don't let anger drive your thoughts and behavior. Don't let anger take over you. Don't let anger become your constant habit. Okay? So anger, when we do not acknowledge it, when we deny it, And when we do not share with each other, what do we want to do when we are angry? And what do we want each other to do to help each other get out of anger very quickly? Then we have no plan. So when we get angry, we resort to our bad habits of the past, instead of managing anger in a controllable way. Miscommunication is a big deal and a big problem inside any relationship. When we do not listen properly, or when we do not listen with attention. And this is what the Quran teaches us. وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ and وَأَنصِتُوا. When and if the Quran is being recited, listen and pay attention. That is insat. Insat is to pay attention. So when your husband is talking to you about something that's important to him, but because it's not important to you, it's not going to affect your weekend, you want him to finish quickly so that you can bring your weekend plan. So you end up discounting what he said, discounting his subject, and wanting him to pay attention to his subject. That's miscommunication. That is flying at different altitudes. You never meet. And one of the other problems with communication is what I would call talking past each other. You bring a problem and you say, listen, what you did last night was a problem. You left me this, you did this. And instead of answering to your complaint, I say, and what you did before that was also a problem. Well, it doesn't justify what you're saying, right? It doesn't answer your complaint. So as if we are without ears or hearings, and each body is interested only in venting what is painful for them. Communication, when it is motivated by pain, is very difficult. And listening while you have pain that you're talking about becomes even more difficult. So before you start to talk, when you have a complaint or an issue or a problem to talk about, you need to get the atmosphere ready for receptiveness. So you need to talk about something good, something pleasant. So we learn this from the Quran. You see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking to us about things He has done for us, right? And He says, do this and this and this if you are truly a believer, right? Mm-hmm. So He inspires you to listen. He inspires you, right, to take into account what Allah wants you to pay attention to. We need to learn also from the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and we spoke about this before, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. I can never overemphasize this issue. O you who believe, fear Allah and only say what hits the target. Whenever you open your mouth to say something to somebody, make sure that you say all what it takes for him to get all what you want to say, and do not say anything less or more than what you need, and don't direct the discussion where your target is not. This is قولا سديدا. سديدا means يسدد الهدف أو يصيب الهدف. So if I want to make you feel good, right? And I'm bringing you a present, right? There is no need for me to tell you, unlike what you did in my birthday, I'm giving you this. But some people do not have appreciation for the impact of what they say or how they get across and how they are received by others. So, miscommunication also can be that when I need to listen, the urge to talk makes me interrupt you. And when I interrupt you, you rest assured, I have not listened to what you said, and I'm not ready to listen what you want to say. So I'm losing you both ways, or you're losing me both ways. So when I want to talk, if you also want to talk, we are losing each other. So one has to act like the wise receptor, so that the other side feels comforted at least to be willing to listen. But when we both have the heat and the urge to talk at the same moment, and we start interrupting each other, we will move from a discussion to an argument, from an argument to a clash, from a clash to a fight, from a fight to a war. So instead of de-escalating a negative communication, we're going to escalate a quiet communication, just because of the urge to talk. I have something to tell you. No, I have something to tell you. And then we stop listening to each other, because everybody feels that what he or she has is more important. One of the worst things in miscommunication is to communicate through a third party. Could you please tell him this? Could you please tell her that? You know, the shortest line between 2 points is a straight line, from your mouth to his ears or vice versa, right? When you get into a triangle communication, you are not only losing the verbal control over what this communication is, what it is about, what you want to achieve, but you are going to lose the trust of the other person because you're showing him distrust. I don't feel comfortable talking to you, so I'm sending you somebody else that you feel comfortable hearing him, and I know that you don't want to listen to me directly, so I'm going to send you somebody. That's what it means. Also, one of the issues related to communication is really the issue of the comfort zone, where there are issues I know that they trigger negative reaction with you. I better try to avoid those issues unless and until I develop a level of comfort for you that I can talk without repercussions. And I'm not going to touch a raw nerve with you. I'm going to touch a good nerve. So when you're very comfortable, and that takes time to build in the family, when you're very comfortable, I can tell you anything. But if I don't make you comfortable, it is on me to make you comfortable for the level of issue that I want to bring to you. Okay. So some people use what is called tactful communications. It sounds a good way from the utterance of the word tactful, which means very sensitive, very caring, right? But sometimes it brings problems because the other guy or gal are not used to beating around the bush, and that's what they call it. So what you think is a tactful communication, by not talking directly about the issue, not touching a raw nerve immediately, but going around the issue to get the other side to understand, they consider it very bad habit. I personally consider it very bad habit.
It's not to the point, it's the opposite of what you said, Colin said.
Yes, yes. Okay. So this is communication. So is a communication course
Can I just say,
necessary? Yes, go ahead.
sorry, I just want to say the last thing about being tactful. Isn't it about personality or how you're raised? Because in some families, that's the way they communicate. The whole family communicates being around the bush. Or maybe it's their personality. Another family, they're not used to it. So
There are
Which
whole
one of
cultures.
yeah, and whole cultures.
There
yeah.
are whole
That
cultures.
work that way.
It is very difficult to get an Egyptian person, and at the expense of overgeneralization, to get a straight talk.
Yes.
It is very difficult. And when you raise an issue or open an issue, they keep asking you questions before they let you tell them what the issue is. It's a whole culture. And I don't know where it comes from, but maybe Pharaohs, but
I have a question.
yes,
The Ethiopians are exceedingly polite. You know,
Yes.
we're very indirect,
yeah,
especially if there's need for constructive criticism or anything. And I have a question about families with non-Muslim members.
mm,
If you're at a family gathering and they're drinking alcohol and they ask you to serve wine to people, if there's pork on the table, you know, things like that, is it enough to let our actions speak for themselves, like to not drink and not you know consume pork? Do we have to lecture, give big dawah? Do we have to say anything, or can we just let our actions speak for themselves?
it depends on the situation. If the situation doesn't lend itself for a lecture, don't lecture. But if the person, if you say, I'm sorry, but I cannot serve wine, for example, then they ask a question, then they are inviting you to talk. You don't have to lecture also, but give them what they ask for. Yes. Yes. Okay, so communication is one issue that we need to take care of. And the next one is in-laws. In-laws have constantly been blamed for lots of things. But let me give you the key to holding the proper distance. First, let us talk about the distance. How far a distance should be between your family and your in-laws, and how close they can be. I would say it depends. If they take you as their own daughter, minus the negatives they do with your daughter, right? Then you must have a pleasant in-law type of people. But if they take you as their daughter and they want to abuse you for equal opportunity treatment like they do with their daughter, then distance is required. From the beginning, because people when they get married, especially young sisters, they are throwing themselves on the other side of the fence very quickly, and they hug their in-laws, and they do this, and they do that. They show emotional appreciation and emotional attachment. I believe caution is very good. Keep a distance of respect, and keep a closeness to keep the warmth in the relationship. If there is something that requires balance, it is this distance. How far or how close you should be. And when you are close and you see signs that you need to take a step back, you need to know how far back you want to go. But if you hold your words, if you hold your mouth, if you hold your tongue longer, you can decide how far or close everybody is. But the more you talk, the more the distance will vanish. And you will not be able to reestablish distance without a lot of difficulties. People can marry quickly, but it's difficult to separate. So that becomes an issue. So in-laws, Islamically speaking, ought to be treated like family, unless they become deliberately or inadvertently destructive to the new family. So one of the signs you need to know that are positive and negative is, it is a very positive sign if you get him married to someone who's very close to his mom. He is her favorite because he does any and everything she asks him for. Very loyal, very obedient, very committed to his mom. This is a very good sign because most probably rational, reasonable people, as you shift your loyalty and obedience to your husband from your dad, he also would shift his love and care for his mom to replicate with you. Okay? This is what makes it positive. When does it become negative? If it goes beyond the normal limits. So, If she tells him, leave your prayer and come do this, and he goes, something is wrong. If she can get him to do what is patently wrong with his wife to make her happy, that is patently wrong. So you need to monitor how close and how proper this relationship is to know how to navigate yourself with the relationship with your in-laws. Otherwise, if you leave it open, everybody has a say, everybody has an opinion, everybody has a better way, and you will not be able to manage all of these expectations. Okay?
How about the in-laws themselves, if you reverse from how the distance that the in-laws should also keep when a new family comes in,
Yes.
and how,
Like your son-in-law or your
Yeah.
daughter-in-law.
yeah,
Yeah, I think the distance is managed in the same way. It's a distance that's intended to keep everybody comfortable, respectful, secure, and mutually acceptable. So if your daughter-in-law feels that you're treating her like your own daughter, minus all else, right? She would love to spend time with you. She would love to be close to you. She wouldn't mind that you ask even her for things, okay? But cultures that demand a newlywed wife to serve a family of 15, and I had one of those sisters in my office today. And she said, I only could take it for 2 years. And I had to go. Even though she was courteous enough and generous enough to do everything they want. She said she was literally serving 15 people. The family and their married children and their spouses of their children and the children, the grandchildren. Because she was the youngest wife coming in the house. So she has to serve everybody else. It's like military ranking. This is true in some cultures where they expect the newly wed wife to be ready, pull her sleeve up, and start to work like a servant, 24 hours. And that makes it very difficult for her to continue. So if you start off with focusing on what is positive in your in-laws, whether they are parents-in-law or children-in-law, if you focus on what's positive and always reward it, because we love praise. So when you reward something in somebody, they want to do more of the same, right? And overlook what is negative. But if it goes beyond certain limit that you cannot bear it, make your views known. Oh, my mom, your words really hurt me last night. And I just wanted you to know. When you screamed at me in front of your own son, my husband, it really ruined my night.
but some cultures see that as confrontation.
But listen, you are trying to set a person at a bay, at a limit, so that they recognize next time they shouldn't do it. And you're talking about adults, you're not talking about kids. Adults have to be open and they have to be clear. And they should not expect to be cuddled like children. So straight talk is in order in this situation. Okay, we mentioned incompatibility last time. Mismanaging finance, which is an issue we went over before shortly, but we need to set the limits. What are the limits in financial transactions between husband and wife? I don't know if I mentioned it in this class or someone else, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لِلرِّجَالِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا اكْتَسَبَ وَلِلنِّسَاءِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا اكْتَسَبَ. Men have a share of what they have earned, and women have a share of what they have earned. So when it comes to finance, it's equality. Equality of what? Equality of rights. You have a right, which is the Quran calls a share of what you've earned. Where does the rest go? The rest goes to your financial responsibilities. What about the husband? The same. After his obligations are covered, whatever money left, it is his. You say, no, it is for the family. I say, no, it is his. Because Allah says, man has a share of what he's earned, woman has a share of what she's earned, and that's it. So your money is your money. Your financial identity, liabilities, and gains and profits and savings are yours, provided that you covered the cost of your work. So if your work requires transportation, you pay your transportation from the income of the work. Because if the income of the work doesn't cover your transportation, it's not worth it. Right? It has to cover your clothing that you use for business. I'm not talking about other things. Okay? It must cover the insurance of the car you use, the maintenance of the car you use. Right? If you invite a friend from the work for lunch or dinner, it is on your income. You can't ask your husband to fund your friend's lunch when you are at work. Okay? So you have, for example, God forbid, a sick mother, and she cannot work. And your father passed away a long time, and she was relying on you. You are the only working person in the family. Your siblings are young, and you used to help the family when you were independent and free, right? That is your responsibility. You have to cover it, right? So if that makes your income less than what you need, that's your reality. You have to live with it. So you can't ask your husband, he's not required to finance your family or to finance things that are beyond the basics. Okay? Unless there's a mutual financial agreement that puts anything different from what I'm saying. What about people who say it's 50-50, we're married, and it's 50-50, this is the American way? Well, the American way did not keep the American families together. So if we want to reach the same point, we can use the American way, but it is not effective. When a wife goes out of work because she's pregnant, right? How could she pay 50-50? Why should she feel less because her husband says, oh, since you're not working, I will relieve you from the 50%? And why should we expose her to responsibilities that Allah has placed on the shoulder of the man? Financing women has been a key issue in the Quran, for which men are given the authority to take care of the financial needs of the family and to make financial decisions on behalf of the family and to pay the debt of the family. Why? Because Allah said so. In His divine wisdom and knowledge, from the outset Allah knew that women have responsibilities that men don't. And the law is not made custom tailored to an individual here and a family there. The law is made for humanity. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الرجال قوامون على النساء. Men are standing to serve the needs of their family, their spouses and their children. Okay? And then he says, بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض. As a result of what Allah has given of gifts, blessings and bounties to each side. So men are given some benefits or values or responsibilities or favors from Allah that are different from women. Women are given different bounties, gifts, and blessings from Allah also that are separate and different. A man can never bear a child. That becomes her responsibility. Right? Women are more prepared by the virtue of their creation as women to take care of children, because Allah has instituted in them the compassion, the mercy, and the ability and the patience to deal with children. Men don't have it. So Allah required men to take care of women for life. You marry somebody, she is pregnant 1 year, breastfeeding 2 years, right? Cleaning 3 years, taking care of the early education 3 more years, minimum. So add this up. When does she develop a career? When? When does she run a business? Even Khadija, radiallahu anha, when she married the Prophet ﷺ, she made a deliberate choice. You run the business, that's before Islam, and I take care of the kids. Before they had kids, he was running her business. That division, unfortunately, our cultures have lost it, and we are running after a model that's not working, and we are just running after a mirage that will never happen, but we think we are on the right track. So the reason, the primary reason that Allah has required men to take care of the financial and physical and health needs and educational needs and everything else their wives need is because their wives are required physically to attend to needs in the family that a man cannot. Now you tell me, what about if a woman is more advanced in career than her husband and she is more able to bring more money, which happens in many cases? Who should take care of the kids? I tell you, still the mother. Because she's more qualified, especially at young age. And you see, our reality reflects our understanding of that. You look at the teaching as a profession, you look at nursing as a profession, and you will find in all nations more than 89 to 90% of those occupying those positions are women. So this is one issue that the universe of people recognizes, that women have patience more than men, women can deal with kids better than men, and women can manage young children in particular much more than men. Why not at home? Anyway, that doesn't mean that Islam prohibits women from working, not at all. But the pain of combining work outside and work at home is going to be very negative on her psyche, on her back, and on her nerves. Yes.
I think, kind of just a little comment, I think today, we have a lot more choices than maybe 20 years ago with flexible work. And it's gonna continue on with a lot of flexible work. Like I work from home, I work part-time. It works very well with our family. And my home is first, and when I have it, I know I schedule time in. So it's not like, there are options today that we didn't have 20 years ago with flexible work, with virtual work, elance work, whatever work you want, that can work for your family time.
Definitely there are types of works that are very difficult for women by the nature of their physique. Like I have one of my kids who had known one of the sisters in MSA. She specialized in civil engineering, and he was driving the other day and he saw her dressed up, very yellow stuff, and she is working on construction in the streets, right? Imagine a sister standing for 7, 8 hours a day to get something done that is physical, demanding, cold, hot, whatever the weather is, she's out there. So there are some demanding type of works on the physique of the woman, okay? And I agree with you that today's careers have lots of flexible options. But again, I'm not saying that women should not work. I'm saying balancing between full-time work and full-time wife and mother is zulm for the woman. We are wronging women by demanding them to do all what man does, besides doing all what man will never want to do. That's the point. Let us go back to finance. Okay. So finance in the family is managed by the rule that when it comes to the basic needs of the family, man is responsible. What about if man was responsible, but then he fell sick? Which happens? Should the woman divorce him? That would break the family, definitely. Should she take care of the financial responsibilities in the family? Yes, she should. She should. Why? Because it's a partnership. It is like if she becomes sick and the children need someone to attend to their needs, should he not chip in and help? He should. Even though he says, that's not my job. Well, it's not her job also, if you become sick, that you will take care of the financial needs of the family. But we work as a team, we work as partners, and we love what Allah gives us of blessings or responsibilities. We accept it, we take responsibility. Okay, so one of the worst issues in terms of financial mismanagement is trying to draw a budget that is far from reality, whether far up or far down. We have to meet our basic needs in the average norm of families like ours. So we should not seek to spend like a millionaire, nor should we pretend that we are dirt poor to save money. So what does the Quran say about this? The Quran says, وَلَا تَجْعَلْ يَدَكَ مَغْلُولَةً إِلَى عُنُقِكَ. Don't choke yourself by not spending. وَلَا تَبْسُطْهَا كُلَّ الْبَسْطِ. Don't be with loose fist, that nothing stays in your hand. Even the Quran, when it talks to us about spending, it says, أَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. When it comes to spending, you spend from, not all what you have. Even if you want to spend in the path of Allah, you tell me, well, but Abu Bakr did that. Radiallahu anhu wa arda. Yes, Abu Bakr is Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr is Abu Bakr. And the Prophet never told Umar, why didn't you do like Abu Bakr? So we should not ask people to do like each other. Everybody has needs and wants and responsibilities, but we should manage within the general rules that we don't spend thrift and we don't go extravagant. Be in the middle, okay? So the budget has to be, number one, covering all the basic needs: food, clothing, healthcare, education, transportation, whatever. So we need to itemize and make a budget that both of us join and make and have an input. And we should not be doing this in a competitive method, like the wife wants to get the budget to spend as much as she wants, and the husband's trying to shrink the budget as little as he wants so that he can save some money. I believe it should be balanced, it should be a joint budget, not one-sided budget. Okay. What are the priorities for the budget? The priorities are as follows. Number one, covering the basic needs. Number two, contingency fund. Number three, savings. So 3 elements: needs, immediate, contingencies, second, then savings. Any question about money, finance?
How about retirement planning?
Savings is what I'm saying, yes. You could save it as a retirement, you could save it in the form of investment, you could save it in any way, yes.
I have a question about the children's education.
Mm.
So who's responsible for paying for it, and how do we?
The father.
The father entirely? 'Cause,
Yes.
well, how do we teach the children to translate their education into a career, like, so that they're mindful of their, like, education, their knowledge being a benefit, that their education will lead to a career where they can support themselves? Because, like, I think this generation in the U.S. is like staying at home with parents, and people are, you know, they're not entering into marriage until later. Like, sometimes people will be graduate students for years, they'll be interns at age 30 something. And so, what do you think about teaching financial
The society-
responsibility?
The societies that are not family friendly have resulted in Europe becoming on the verge, not on the verge, actually they entered into the irreversible zone of depopulation. They entered into this zone exactly because of what you're saying. The society is not family friendly structured, so they treat women and children as second thought, and they treat their basic needs also as second thought. Very few societies support fully and fund fully the education of children. And as such, societies who spend well on education, they produce more confident youth, they produce more productive youth, more stable mentally, socially, and psychologically youth, and their youth marry younger. Societies who push the kids to work at 18, they delay their education, and when they load them or overload them with loans, educational loans, they break their backs, and they do not get them to marry younger, and marrying late reduces the number of potential children and reduces cohesion in the family. Because the period in which I'm more flexible, which is the 20s, right, is lost in the stress of education, learning, interning, all of this. So once I start thinking of marriage, I'm already in my 30s, which means I entered the insecure zone of what's going to happen with my future. And that puts a lot of stress on all the society, financially, emotionally, and from every aspect. So Turkey, okay. Turkey is, I have 3 minutes. Turkey is now funding all education from pre-K all through the university. Why? Because they succeeded in making family-friendly economy. Most women who work, if they have been within the past, if they reach adulthood in the past 10, 15 years, this generation is reaping the best of what Turkey has to offer. Turkey has jumped from number 130 in the world to number 17. From the lira being sold $100 for 1.6 million lira in 1994 when I went to visit her, right? Now the lira, the dollar is 3 liras. And they are competing in industry, in agriculture, in everything. So we have to learn this. Jazakumullah khair. We'll see you inshallah next week. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Iman, for this.
Good job.